The Ryuga Gotoku franchise, or Yakuza as known in the West, is one of the most unique games to have come out in the last decade. The frantic beat-em-up combat, riddled with full of cast of memorable characters, comes together to create an awesome game. But while playing these games, a question lingered. How does video games reflect the real-life Yakuza that exists today in Japan? First, let's give some background on the history of the franchise. It all started more than a decade ago, with IGN reporting, and quote, "The current generation isn't over for Sega. According to reports out of Japan, the company intends to hold a special press conference on August 23rd in Tokyo to announce the first details on the ultra top secret Project J, a PS2 game being headed by Toshihiro Nagoshi, the producer of Super Monkey Ball, Daytona USA, F-Zero, and GC. That's in 2005. The game later released in Japan in December of 2005. Sega later localized it for Western markets in September of 2006 and completely dubbed the game in English. The game was not a smash hit with Western audiences, and to this day, Yakuza from 2005 is the only dubbed game in the series. Even in 2018, Western fans prefer the Japanese voices, as the game feels much more real and authentic than in English. In the Yakuza games, you play as Kiryu Kazuma, a member of the Dojima family. The very first game encapsulates 10 years of his life as he takes the blame for a murder he did not commit to help his friend.
The Dragon of Dojima. Freeze! He was feared.
When you don't pay your debts, I'm what you get.
And respected.
I'm doing this because he disrespected you.
Until the day he took a fall for family and broke the blood oath of Yakuza.
Kiryu is certainly a hero in this story, and rarely does he act like an actual Yakuza member. There are a few scenes of him collecting money from shady businessmen, but rarely does Kiryu go out of his way to antagonize. In a sense, his heroism makes sense. While games like Grand Theft Auto flourish in giving player agency over several criminals, the games are never out glorification as much as they are a satire of a crime in America. In contrast, Yakuza's Kiryu is a hero in an otherwise rotten organization, full of evil people. Kiryu is the hero who is going to fix the problem with the organization, in a way. One thing to note is that the games do tell a very personal story of Kiryu's life, and the Yakuza aspect sometimes takes a back seat for some storytelling. Nonetheless, as the game suggests, the Yakuza are a very important core to the themes of the game. The Yakuza franchise remained an obscure franchise until a prequel titled Yakuza 0 came to PS4 in 2017. The Western audience really loved this one, and Sega saw that interest for the franchise grew exponentially. Since the release of Yakuza 0, Sega has released remakes of the first and second game, the brand new sixth game, and is planning on remastering 3, 4, and 5 for 2019. Yakuza interest is at an all-time high, which begs the question, how do these games compare to the real-life Yakuza in Japan? As to governmental enforcement regarding the Yakuza in Japan, there is no strict law that forbids membership of the Yakuza. The changing times have been a factor of the downward slope of the Yakuza, yet there's still a large presence on them in Japan, in a report from 2006. It's not to say that Yakuza are wiped out, however, just evolved. In recent news, a man by the name of Junja Hida escaped jail in Osaka and has been robbing and assaulting various women in Japan. As a result, the police put out a notice of 3 million yen for information on Hida being offered by a company. 3 million yen translate to $263,000, quite a bit of money. Local Yakuza have been interested in the money and are actively on the lookout for him. One Yakuza member even stated that many Yakuza depend on the bounties set by the police. Yakuza can be useful for the police. However, they have resources underground, businesses, and markets otherwise inaccessible to the police. It is a mutualistic relationship as of now, and seems to be garnering a vigilante sort of effect, as reported by Japan Today. This is not to say that Yakuza are actually good people. They're obviously in it for the money, and are guilty of countless other crimes, including, and not limited to, extortion, bribery, assault, and murder. Heinous crimes can even extend to drug and human trafficking. As an interesting side note, the US has also taken action against the Yakuza. Recently, the US Treasury has issued a statement to freeze all accounts and cease all business with Yakuza-linked companies, as reported by the Japan Times. Organized crimes will always be a part of our world, but it's commendable to see international actions to minimize the organization. So let's dive into the similarities. To start with, the Ryoga Gotoku is ethno-faithful to the Yakuza in real life. What this means is the game takes place in Japan, expanding from the late 1980s to 2018. It resembles the real-life Tokyo very well, and sometimes in-game screenshots can be mistaken with real-life photographs. The game is comprised of Japanese actors and all do a really good interpretation of their characters. Without a doubt, the acting is top-notch. The games all do a good job of showing the ranks of the Yakuza as well, and how the patriarchal structure operates within the organization. The game also has many clans resembling the real-life clans existing today. For obvious reasons, they do not have the same name, but many reflects the actual real clans and alliances. As for the criminal activity, the game does portray many Yakuza as evil and corrupted. Many of the villains Kiryu faces off often are horrible people. The game does try to make them relatable, and does a good job of the nature of organized crime. Not everyone is a good guy, and not everyone is a bad guy. There is certainly some gray area to explore philosophically. Equally, the real life may be the same way. Furthermore, one of the best similar aspects of the Yakuza games is the tattoos, and it does a great job to reflect the real life counterpart. In the game, tattoos are seen as taboo, equally as Japan sees tattoos today. Furthermore, each member has tattoos representing various things, much to the real Yakuza. One of the main characters, Goro Majima, has tattoo even on his chest. Antagonists such as Ryuji also have great tattoos. Kiryu's tattoo is especially awesome as he gets his name from his tattoo, the Dragon of Dojima. But the similarities stop here. While there are many other minor details that are similar between the game's Yakuza and the real-life Yakuza, they are of major importance. There are quite few differences nonetheless. Starting with how the game represents the Yakuza, it is certainly a romanticized in comparison to real life. The difference is actually welcome, as the story is more engaging. Kiryu's tells class as it comes, and it fits well with the Yakuza backdrop. The biggest difference in my opinion is the criminal activity. Not only does Kiryu not commit any crimes, Kiryu does not even like what the Yakuza do, and is constantly helping random civilians around the street. Kiryu is awesome, but sometimes it's unbelievable how he's even part of the Yakuza when he's clearly not a criminal. Another difference is the way violence and activities are portrayed. There is rarely any murders, and trafficking of drugs is rarely mentioned. These are not major differences, but it's interesting to see how the Japanese developers portray some of the activities done by the organized crime in their country.
はい。いらっしゃいませ。いらっしゃいませ。何する？ビールで。ビール。いいんじゃない？ビール。水割り。タバコ持ってない。
This is not to say it's a bad thing, but nothing really shocked me regarding their handling of violence. The movie Sonatine, released in 1993, is more akin to the violence real-life Yakuza and mobster commit. And finally, the ways tattoos are in the game are too conservative. In real life, Yakuza cover almost all of their body with tattoos. In game, the Yakuza tattoos are often relegated to their back and sometimes their chest. I do have to admit though, the fictional representation looks much better than the real one. In conclusion, the real-life Yakuza are certainly more brutal than the fictional representation. The activities they partake are way more heinous. Also, the game seems to want to tell a story instead of portraying the real-life Yakuza, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's fun just comparing the inspiration that created the world of Ryoga Gotoku and the real life.
お前らがはるかの事故に関わっていることは何もねえんだな。
どういう意味です？俺らにそんなことする理由はないでしょう。
ああ、確かに今のところは俺もそう思う。 俺もはるかもお前らの構想とは程遠いからな。だがもし万が一登場会が何かの理由で俺の身内に手出したんだとしたら、その時は容赦しねえ。